You open your eyes in the morning and feel the fog already waiting. It's not a sadness exactly, not despair. It's confusion. A question you carry everywhere. One that doesn't shout, but hums quietly beneath everything you do. What am I doing with my life? You're not alone. More people than ever are overwhelmed by choices, paralyzed by pressure, or quietly drifting in a sea of doubt. We're surrounded by information, yet starving for meaning. You scroll through advice, you consume inspiration, you repeat the rituals of productivity. But under it all, there's an ache. Carl Jung did not promise quick answers, but he offered a path. A way not to escape the confusion, but to understand it. Because Jung didn't see confusion as failure. He saw it as invitation, a message from the unconscious that something deeper needs attention.
You see, in Jung's world, the conscious mind, your daily thoughts, routines, plans, is only a sliver of who you are. Beneath it lies the unconscious, vast, ancient, mysterious. And when your outer life no longer reflects your inner truth, the unconscious sends signals, symptoms, restlessness, dreams, a persistent sense that something is off. Confusion in this sense is not your enemy, it's your guide. Jung believed that modern life encourages us to live outward, to perform, to achieve, to please. But when you ignore the inward, your desires, your fears, your forgotten memories, you lose orientation. Like a compass spinning in every direction, unsure where north is. You start asking surface-level questions. What job should I do? Where should I live? What should I post? But the real question, the question Jung pointed toward, is this: who am I becoming? If that question terrifies you, good. That means you're alive. That means you're paying attention. Jung called this process individuation, the slow, often painful journey of becoming who you really are, not who the world told you to be. And here's the difficult truth. Confusion is part of that journey. Because to become who you are, you must let go of who you thought you were. Think about it. From childhood, you were taught what to value, how to behave, what to fear. You were rewarded for being a good version of yourself and punished, sometimes subtly, for showing anything else. Over time, you built an identity, but not necessarily a self. The confusion you feel now is the rumbling of the authentic self trying to break through. The mask you've worn for so long no longer fits. And that discomfort, that disorientation, that's the beginning of awakening. You might feel lost, but you are actually on the path. Because the path doesn't start with clarity, it starts with questioning. It starts with doubt. It starts with the courage to say,
I don't know who I am, but I want to find out. Jung taught that to reclaim the self, you must confront your shadow. Not shadow as in darkness or evil, but shadow as in all the parts of you you've rejected. Your anger, your fear, your ambition, your sensitivity, your truth. These are not flaws. They are fragments, disowned parts of your whole. And as long as you ignore them, they will sabotage your clarity. Because the shadow does not stay quiet. It leaks. Through self-sabotage, through confusion, through unexplained anxiety. To know yourself, Jung said, you must make the unconscious conscious. You must go inward. You must stop asking the world to define you and start listening to what your soul has been whispering for years. But the world won't make that easy. Because a confused person is a profitable person, one more likely to buy, to follow, to chase illusions of certainty. You will be told to hustle, to brand yourself, to compete, to never stop moving. But Jung says, be still.
Confusion arises when the soul is ready to grow, but the ego still clings to control. You want a map, but Jung says, let the path unfold from within. You want affirmation, but Jung says, sit with the silence. You want answers, but Jung says, live the questions. This is not weakness, this is transformation. The self is not found, it is forged through tension, through searching, through years of discomfort that slowly give way to insight. Jung believed that every person carries a deep image within them, a blueprint, a potential, a calling. But most never hear it because they're too busy becoming someone else. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to begin the dialogue with your dreams, with your fears, with your longings, with your shadow. Because when you ask real questions without demanding quick answers, something shifts. The fog doesn't lift all at once, but light starts to break through. You stop needing to perform. You start learning to listen. And the voice you hear, deep, calm, unshakable, is not someone else's. It's your own. That's the beginning. The rest is waiting. So where do you go from here? You begin by making space, not just in your calendar, but in your mind, in your heart. You choose moments of silence over noise. You let the discomfort of not knowing stretch you rather than shrink you. You pay attention to your resistance, because wherever you resist, that's where your truth lives. You resist change, not because it's bad, but because it's unfamiliar. But what's unfamiliar is often the very thing you need to grow. Jung believed that symbols and dreams are the language of the unconscious. So instead of dismissing your dreams as random or meaningless, you begin to notice. What images recur? What patterns haunt you? What forgotten feelings rise in the quiet hours? This is not superstition. This is self-study. The ancient art of turning inward, not as escape, but as discovery. You keep a journal, not to perform, but to confess. Not to impress, but to witness. You write without censorship. You let the truth spill, even when it doesn't make sense. Especially when it doesn't make sense. Because the self you are seeking is not logical. It's layered, intuitive, symbolic, and often hiding beneath your most painful moments. Jung warned that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their souls. They'll blame, distract, obsess, run, but those who dare to pause, to look honestly, begin to awaken. You may find that what you thought was confusion is actually transition. The old is fading, but the new hasn't arrived. And in that liminal space, you are vulnerable, but you are also free. Free to choose again, free to realign, free to walk toward what calls you, even if you can't yet name it. You notice the masks you've worn, the roles you've played, the stories you've accepted about who you are and what you're allowed to want. And you begin to question them. Not all will fall away, but some will. And in their place, you find something terrifying and beautiful. Your essence. Not a brand, not a label, not an image, but a current, a direction, a vibration of being that is unmistakably yours. Jung called this the self, the totality of who you are,
conscious and unconscious, light and shadow, past and potential. And individuation is the sacred process of bringing that self into wholeness. Not perfection, wholeness. This process is lifelong. It is not a one-time breakthrough. It is a spiral. You return to the same questions again and again, each time with deeper insight. You stop chasing someone else's idea of success. You redefine success as congruence. When what you feel, what you think, and what you do are finally aligned. You stop seeing confusion as weakness. You begin to honor it as a message. You stop seeing emotions as flaws. You begin to treat them as guides. You stop performing. You start becoming. And yes, there will be days you slip, days you doubt, days you wonder if you're making any progress at all. But then something happens. You react differently to an old trigger. You speak a truth you used to swallow. You rest without guilt. You feel joy without explanation. And in those moments, something inside you smiles, because you know you're returning to the self you were always meant to be. Confusion was never your enemy. It was the signal, the door, the whisper from the depths that said, "You are not lost. You are becoming." So keep going. You're not broken. You're not late. You're not behind. You're unfolding. And the life that awaits on the other side of confusion is not someone else's. It's yours.